Hi Lupico, me, Razor here, and I'm here today with friend Alhaitham. Say hi Alhaitham. Oh, hi. And today we'll explain to you the banners of patch 5.0 phase 2. And this explanation is for friends who are casual or new to Genshin Impact. We play to have fun. We try a bit, but not too hard. Now this is how this video is gonna be structured. First, Razor is gonna explain in easy to understand terms. Then Alhaitham explaining in depth. Finally, we'll bring it back to Razor to sum things up. And stay tuned until the end of the video for my special recommendation on who to pull for a Genshin newbie. Grading scale is bad, decent, good, and rarely I'd give an awesome rating. So, Kinich banner, it's good. And Thoma, right here, he's a decent support for Kinich. If you want a good on-field DPS that is easy to play, if you want Ben 10, if you want Naruto and Sasuke in one package, and if you want a Spider-Man that zips through the open world, then pull on this banner. Next up, we have the Raiden banner. This is also a good banner for a slightly different reason. Raiden is a decent DPS who is also very flexible. And the important thing, it's a 4-in-1 deal. You pull on this banner, you can immediately make a team. Raiden, Shavres, Sarah, Thoma, they can make a team. It's not the best team for Raiden, but it's pretty up there and it's perfectly functional. You want a flexible unit with decent damage, pull on this banner. Only pull a character if you like that character. I certainly do that. Sometimes there are strong units that a lot of people would say they are must-have to the account. They will make your account stronger. They're gonna make you 36-star abyss sooner. But then after you 36-star abyss, you're gonna just sit there and ask yourself, why am I doing this? The weapon banner, it's bad. And I know they have improved the weapon banner. Only need 1 fate point now instead of 2 fate points. This weapon banner is still bad. My friend, if you have Kinich, this is an okay-ish weapon banner, assuming you get a lot of Favonius lands. Or maybe if you lose the fate point and get Raiden's weapons instead, give it to Xiangling. Xiangling is a good Kinich partner because Kinich wants burning or immersion in the team. If you have Raiden, and if you really love Raiden, then you can try your luck here. I hope you get her weapon early and then get the hell out of this banner fast, cause it's bad, dog. Alright, Razor is done. If you only hear the Razor language, that's done. Good, bad. Now, let's turn it over to Lupico Alhaitham, and now Alhaitham's gonna explain more in Alhaitham's language. Let's talk about the weapon banner first. Get it out of the way. Kinich Claymore, Fang of the Mountain King. It's decent overall. It's awesome for Kinich. Duh, giving a whopping 30% improvement over his best free-to-play option, which is Earthshaker. This weapon is also good for Dia and maybe Diluc when playing in a Burning or Virgin team, but both Dia and Diluc are not that good. Other than that, it's a decent stat stick, attack, and a little bit of crit rate for any Claymore on-field DPS or off-field DPS. The passive will be mostly wasted on many characters. Raiden's signature weapon, Engulfing Lightning, decent minus overall. It's good for Raiden. It's only giving 15% improvement over her free-to-play option, which is the catch. For comparison, Kinich weapon is a 30% improvement over his free-to-play weapon, Earthshaker. Raiden's polearm is also good for Xiangling, and Xiangling is good. Raiden's polearm is also good for Rosaria, but Rosaria is not that good. Other than that, a lot of polearm, both DPS or support, want energy recharge, so this is a decent stat stick for them. But, and here's also a big but, Favonius Lance is a very close rival for the people who just want energy recharge. And also, there is a very early accessible craftable weapon that also gives energy recharge. This one right here. It's not as good as Fab Lance, but it gets the job done. Now let's talk about the 4 stars on here. First, the bow is Sacrificial Bow, and all I have to say about it is just use Favonius Bow instead. We get a Favonius Bow for free, and it's better. Period. There's nothing else to talk about here. Sacrificial Sword, just use Favonius Sword instead. It's better. Sacrificial Sword is decent, but it's not as good as Favonius Sword. The rare use case for Sacrificial Sword is when we need energy recharge, but we don't have Favonius Sword yet. 5 Lance, Favonius Lance, is the shining beacon of light on this banner. It's the best 4-star in here. It can be used by many supports or off-field DPS that needs energy. They need to have their burst back by the time it's off cooldown. It can also help the whole team with energy issues. If you do not know, the Favonius weapon has a special passive that when a character holding it critical hit, there's a chance that it gives the white particles that restore energy for the whole team. That's what makes it so good. It's all gonna be downhill from here for this banner. With it, this catalyst is good for Risley, Wanderer, and Yai Miko. This weapon gives a crit damage secondary stat. It's also decent-ish for Nahida and Yanfei, but Nahida usually wants a more EM focused weapon. In Yanfei, the weapon may be good on her, but she's not that good. And finally, we have the Claymore, Rain Slasher. It's good for Dia if you want to play her in a Version playstyle, but Dia Version is also not that great. Rain Slasher is decent for Gaming, for Sayu, for Beidou, but it's never the best option for any of them. Sayu would usually want a bonus Claymore. Gaming and Beidou would prefer some crit Claymore. In conclusion, if you have Kinich, this is an okayish banner. If you have Raiden and you really love her, you want to give her the best, then I hope you get her weapon early and get the hell out of this banner. That's all I can tell you. Another thing to consider is, should you pull this just for bonus lands? I'm gonna say the chance is really low. It's about 10%. Don't do it. Unless you absolutely need for bonus lands, like the account doesn't even have one copy of a bonus lands and you need it for Shangling or something, and you're willing to take the risk, okay, then do it. Alright, we're out of the weapon banner trench. Now we get to the character banner, which is good. So Kinich, his damage is good. His ease of play is decent. His gameplay is rather simple. He calling a big dragon with his burst, and a hall gonna show up. A hall's gonna do AoE damage from time to time. And then for his skill, there, he latches on the enemy. He runs around them, then he deals damage. That's it. That's his gameplay. It's very easy to play. Slight problem is building a team for him may be hard. He has a passive that wants in his team to have either burning or burgeon. Burning is when Dendro react with pyro, and burgeon is when a Dendro seat on the ground reacts with pyro. So he almost always require an off-field pyro applicator. That could be Shangling, could be Dia, or look at this, Thoma. He's on this banner. Kinich can also be played similar to Alhaitham in Quick Bloom or Quicken teams, but he's just doing less damage. Yes, hi, hello, that's me. And no, Kinich has no chance. Another thing that is often neglected when people review characters, exploration and utilities. Do you know this is a game about exploring the world? This is a game where we spend most of our time in the overworld collecting materials, killing stuff, doing the quest, and the Spiral Abyss and Imaginarian Theater are only the minigame that we play once per month each. Yeah, exploration is a big integral part of the game. So Kinich, he's Spider-Man, he zips across the world. Inside Natlan is awesome, outside of Natlan is good. So it's about as good as Genshin. Outside of Natlan, he grapples onto a point and then he moves forward a little bit. He doesn't have to do the gliding thing because he can just propel himself forward. He can do that every 7 seconds. It's gonna add up because we travel a lot in the overworld. Next up is Raiden. Her damage is decent. She's a dated unit now, often requiring C2 to be competitive with other newer units. Her ease of play is good minus. Raiden's skill will deal damage from off-field and buffs the burst damage of everyone in the party. Then, after all the party members uses their burst, Raiden uses her burst to deal bigger damage and refund the energy cost to everyone. She's flexible. She can be an on-field driver, helping everyone in the team with energy recharge requirement. She can also be played as a hyper carry with Bennett and with either Kazuha or Chevres. Look, she's right here. One of those teams could be Raiden, Chevres, Sarah, and Thoma. Wow! Though Sarah and Thoma can be replaced with Bennett and Shangling respectively, and that will be a better version. But this is completely functional and quite decent. Raiden can be played in a Quicken or Quick Bloom team, meaning play with Dendro, and she can also be a off-field Hyper Bloom trigger. She doesn't need to use her burst, just use her skill in those teams and build full elemental mastery. If you're a newer player with not many characters, or if you're a player who likes to experiment with a lot of new and weird combination of team, then you may like Raiden playstyle. Her only problem that drags her ease of play score down for me. She requires materials from Inazuma, the country in the game. Other nations, for example Sumeru, Fontaine, Natlan, can be walked to collect materials, but Inazuma especially needs to be unlocked through the quest. And to unlock Raiden's boss, you need to do more quests. That is terrible for a new player getting Raiden and not be able to level her up at all. Raiden has decent utility. She has a passive that reduces the ascension cost when leveling up swords and power-ups. It's gonna matter in the long run, but it doesn't feel very good. Let's move on to the 4-star characters. Chervress is an amazing 4-star. She's restricted in team building because she can only be played with Hyro and Electro. But even with that restriction, Chervress is a complete and strong buffer and healer at C0. At C6, she outperforms Kazuha and Silonen at buffing. And she works well with Raiden because Raiden's Electro. She also works well with Chlorine. She also works well with Alecchino if that's one of your options that you want to get in the future. Move on to Sarah. Sarah is bad at C0. She's decent at C2. And she's situationally good at C6. Sarah is a character that needs a lot of constellation. Her main problem is she does the same job as Bennett. She buffs attack, but she doesn't buff it as much as Bennett. She has a shorter buff duration, and also Bennett heals. Sarah doesn't. Her only saving grace is that at C6, she also buffs the crit damage of electro units. She can be played with Raiden and Chlorine. Thoma has been an underdog for a long time, but he's been punching back recently. Thoma is a shielder, so right off the bat, he makes people die less, and he makes the character on field cannot be interrupted. Thoma is also a rare unit who applies pyro from off field in Genshin, so he's good for Chervress teams. He's also good for Mualani specifically if you had her from the current banner. Thoma is also good for burning and version, and Thoma can also sacrifice the tankiness of his shield to do some decent version damage. Thoma is good for Kinich if you don't want to build and play Xiangling for Kinich, which is understandable. Xiangling has horrendous ER requirement. Thoma at C4 has a bit more lenient ER requirement. And that is a summary of all the characters in this banner. Let's switch back to Razor mode. Raiden, damage decent. Ease of play, good minus. Exploration and utilities, decent. But this banner is good purely because she has a complete team right here. And Chervress is good. Kinich, damage, good. Ease of play, decent. Exploration and utility, good. Spider-Man, yahoo! And on this banner specifically, Thoma works well with him. Both of these characters are easy to play. Click skill, click burst, spin around, do damage. This, click skill, click burst, do damage. It's not complicated as Mualani, like you have to do a complicated setup of pyro first and then she can vape. And as promised from the beginning of the video, if you're just joining to the game, I would really recommend Kinich. He's a solid DPS. He's good for exploration because new players also need to explore a lot of the map, and he doesn't require you to go to an obscure nation to farm for his materials. You can go to Natlan right away. One thing I'd like to note, Kinich's gameplay requires him to spin around the enemies, so make sure you go into his trial when he comes out and try him to see if you get dizzy or disorienting when you play him or not. Other than that, have fun, have a good day, and I wish you the best of luck on your pulls. Razor and Alhaitham out.